Good morning. This is your 8:15 daily operations weather briefing. Seeing some sunny conditions out there this morning. We do expect another dry weather day ahead, but we will see some mild temperatures and breezy to windy conditions as we'll have a cold front and a return of cooler air moving in as we go later in the day and into the evening time frame. If we take a look at the current surface analysis, we have quiet picture over the local area. This morning we do have this area low pressure off to the northwest. That's going to continue tracking eastward and bring this cold front through our area right around or just after the close of business today. Out ahead of it, we're going to see some warm air moving in with some southwesterly winds, and we'll see those winds becoming breezy to windy just in front of the front. And then as that front moves through, we'll see some continued breezy conditions out of the northwest with some cooler air ushering in. If we look at the current conditions this morning, just a few clouds around 25,000 feet, winds out of the west at 7 knots. Temperature at 46 degrees and the relative humidity is at 60%. If we look at our current visible satellite, we see clear skies across the local area. Off to the north, seeing some mid-level clouds. Those should continue to move eastward and expecting mostly sunny skies through much of the day until we start to see that cold front approach where we'll see some increased cloudiness moving through. If we look at the European model here, zoomed out as there's not much going on in the local area other than those winds. As we go through today, we'll see, again, those winds will pick up and we'll see some warm air moving through. Breezy conditions becoming windy as this front starts to approach again around close of business or just after it should be pushing through the area. We'll see some increasing clouds with that, and we'll see those winds shifting out of the northwest with cooler air starting to move through. As we approach midnight, we'll see peak winds weaken slightly, and then going into the morning hours on Thursday, they'll gradually weaken a bit more, but still staying breezy as we go through the evening time frame and slightly breezy as we get into the start of the day on Thursday. This area of high pressure starts to build eastward into the local region, so we'll see some slightly breezy conditions to start the day on Thursday, but overall a cooler day and continue mostly sunny conditions with dry weather. That continues as we go overnight Thursday into Friday. We'll see those winds becoming light and variable with another chilly evening. And then as we go into Friday, we'll start off mostly sunny, and then we'll start to see this area of low pressure coming together over the Gulf of Mexico. And that's expected to track up the southeast coast, moving into our area. That's when we'll see some increasing clouds becoming mostly cloudy by later in the day Friday. But it looks like the rain will hold off until we get past the midnight time frame Friday evening, when we'll see another rainy and windy weather for our Saturday through much of the day for Saturday. So if we look at the 24-hour weather risk chart for today, the main story today will be those winds, starting off with an orange risk this morning, as we do expect those winds to gradually start to build up as we go through the morning hours. We'll see those winds eventually reaching out of the west-southwest, 10 to 15 knots, sustained, gusting up to 24 knots. And then as we get into the afternoon time frame, we'll continue to see breezy conditions out of the southwest becoming more westerly and eventually peaking those wind gusts up around 34 knots. So we move into a red risk for those winds above 35 knots, likely seeing that wind advisory being issued by the time we get into the later morning time frame, but definitely so as we get into the afternoon time frame. And with those southwesterly winds, we'll see those temperatures warming up to around 64 degrees for a high this afternoon. And as that front approaches, we'll see some increased cloudiness, likely seeing a ceiling develop around 8,000 feet and then dropping down to around 6,000 feet. And as that front pushes through, we'll see those winds shifting out of the northwest, remaining breezy, seeing those peak winds up around 30 knots behind the gusts, and then slowly weakening down to around 26 knots for our peak winds as we get to midnight. And we'll see that cooler air start to move through. And then as we continue into the morning hours of Thursday, we'll see those clouds breaking and starting to clear, with those skies becoming mostly clear. We'll see slightly breezy winds continuing through the morning hours with those peak gusts around 22 knots. So as you can see, we drop down to an orange risk for those winds above 25 knots and eventually down to a yellow risk as we get into the start of the day on Thursday. Otherwise, starting with clear conditions or clear skies on Thursday, and then seeing those tides running normal at this time. Looking at the next couple days, Thursday we'll see those mostly sunny conditions continue through the days. We could see some partly cloudy times as we get later in the day. Otherwise, we'll see slightly breezy conditions, mainly early on, so we keep a yellow risk for those winds that are above 25 knots with a potential chance for a lingering wind advisory continuing through the morning hours. We should see those winds drop below that wind advisory criteria later in the day. But otherwise, a chilly day with a high around 49 degrees. Going into Thursday evening, we'll see mostly clear and cool conditions with a low around 33 degrees. And again, those winds will be light and variable by then, so no weather risk expected through that time frame. And that continues as we go into Friday. We'll see mostly sunny conditions to start today. And again, those clouds will be on the increase ahead of the next system, becoming partly to mostly cloudy as we get later in the day. And we'll see a slight onshore breeze as we go through the day as well, and expecting our high around 51 degrees, but green conditions for our weather risk. That's going to wrap up the 8:15 Daily Operations Weather Briefing. We'll be back again at 10 a.m. to take a look at the extended forecast. Enjoy your morning.